Hey everybody, we are back with What the Hell, Vedika here with Jenna, the Gribbler Gribble. How are you, Jenna?
I'm good. How are you?
Join Mike, Janda, and Guess to discuss the things that make creative people say, "What the hell, Vedika?"
Good. The Gribbler sounds like a Batman bad
I
guy.
like it. I like it.
I know.
We
Has
can
anybody
keep the
said the Gribbler
Gribbler.
before? The Gribbler.
No,
That's
you're
so
the
good.
first one.
You got to brand that. Get the domain. It's time.
I'll have to
It
tell
is
Jake.
time.
It's his.
It's good.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
Jake
I
should
stole it
grab
from
it.
him. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah,
That's
Jake
funny.
Jake is the Gribbler.
He is
the
the, he
Gribbler.
is the Gribbler.
It's so
Oh,
good.
that's so funny.
I thought that the other day when we were texting, I was like, the Gribbler. Oh man, that was a good one. I like branding stuff, and I'm sad that I didn't have a nickname other than Janda Man. But that was the same as all my brothers. I have 4 brothers, and we're all Janda Man.
Yeah.
That's no good. Did you have a
there's no way to
nickname?
differentiate.
Right, we're getting
No.
on tangents already. You didn't have a nickname?
So I only have one family member who called me Jen and is allowed to call me Jen. Otherwise, Jenna is my name. But when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I got called Jenna Bean a lot. So like
Jenna Bean.
AOL Instant Messenger back in the day, right?
Of
My
course.
first
Yes,
AOL Instant Messenger name was Jenna Bean 03 because that was my graduating year from high school.
Oh, that's good. Jenna Bean.
Mhm.
That's
Jenna
pretty good.
Bean.
I like it. Nobody else calls you Jenna Bean?
No, my middle name is Jean too. So Jenna Jean, Jenna Bean,
Jenna Jean.
Yes.
What's your maiden name?
Brock, like the candy.
Jenna Jean Brock.
BRACHT. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, this has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. What we have planned is, okay, Jenna Bean sent
Jenna
a
Bean Gribbler. What'd you call it? Gribbler?
the Gribbler, Jenna Bean Jean, the Gribbler, sent me an article the other day from Matthew Inman. And I'm gonna put it on
Otherwise
the
known
screen
as
now.
the oatmeal. People will
The
know
oatmeal?
the oatmeal, especially creatives. Y'all know the oatmeal,
Yeah.
and if you don't,
The oat-
you should.
Well, a lot of people do because of Exploding Kittens.
Yeah.
Super popular game. Yeah, you can play Exploding Kittens. So Matthew Inman is the cartoonist, and he is the creator of Exploding Kittens. He has a Netflix series, great cartoonist, and he wrote an article called Let's Talk About AI Art, and it is one part hot takes, one part controversial opinion, one part anger expunging for him, I think. There were a lot of different things in here, and I think it's super interesting, and he's super talented, and I wholeheartedly support him. We own Exploding Kittens. I think he's great, and he has some strong opinions that we wanted to share about AI art that I think will make people think. It made me think. I got through like the first 2 sections, Jenna Bean.
Yeah,
And
I sent
when I got
this to
through
you the other
those-
day, and I feel like you got a little.
I
triggered.
know. I was like, I started
Yeah.
reading it right away. I was in my car at the time when you sent it to me. I started scrolling, and then I texted you like I was halfway through, and I was like, hey, let's do a podcast on this.
Well, let's back up
Here
for
we
a
are.
second. So everything about in London, so we went on the London retreat and we talked about AI. And so everything that's come across my life lately that has to do with AI, I've been like, I got to send this to Mike. So that's the reason I sent this to you, because I was like, I just know Mike, the AI embracer, is going to have some thoughts about
I don't know if
this.
I'm don't you're gonna get the haters coming. The haters are gonna come with
I think it's a good thing.
I am an AI realist. That's what I would say.
Okay,
I'm an
I like
AI
that.
realist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So I embrace the reality that AI is going to be part of it, and that creatives have to figure out how to thrive inside of
Yeah.
a new landscape. I think that's the realist part for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what are you? How do you label yourself regarding AI?
I was an AI hater for the first bit, and that's just being completely honest. But I think it was because
Yeah.
it feels existential. But now, after using AI and understanding how I can incorporate it and how it can make me better, I'm like a realist slash embracer, but also I have a little cynical piece. So I'm a mixed bag. Yeah.
What would you call Matthew Inman after reading the article we're going to go through?
He's a bit of he's protective. We'll say that. He's protective of artists and people who make art.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Perfect. Well said. Protective. All right. So Jena is an embracer slash realist. I am a realist slash realist. And I freaking love the AI stuff for entertainment purposes, like making Sora videos and stuff. I think it's fun. It's entertaining for me to make those, and then I post them, and it's entertaining for other people. But that's all I view it for. And we are going to talk about Tilly Norwood in this session also, which is, I would say, beyond the entertainment model and controversial. So stick around for that. Okay, let's dig into the oatmeal. Let's talk about AI art. These are Matthew Inman's thoughts. And you know what? Before you start hating in the comments, everybody gets to have their own thoughts. And Matthew can feel one way and I can feel another. And everybody can feel different ways about this stuff. It does not mean that you have to be bashy in the comments because you feel a certain way. This article made me more empathetic to the plight of human illustrators. That's what I felt after this. I was like, okay, he articulated it in a way that made me feel the pain and the frustration for people. Okay. Why don't we take this like in, do you have this article up, Jena?
I see it on your screen.
You don't have to. We can just go. I mean,
great.
It's big enough on my share screen. So
it is perfect.
You want to just why don't you start since you were the one who sent this article? So I was thinking we could go down and read. And then when we get to a spot where we want to have a hot take, then we hot take it.
Yeah. I also encourage, there's probably people who are listening to this in their cars, and please don't be looking at your phone while we're talking about this. But also you should eventually pull this up and look at this comic, because we're reading through a comic and it's got all of these. If you know the Oatmeal, he has the most outlandish and funny illustrations to go along with his comic copy. So, but it says, let's talk about AI art because I have a take. So he's already teeing us up for, I got thoughts. And then
you got a thought already? Oh no.
He has thoughts. Yeah. Okay. I mean, not already. No. So do we have to? I'm very tired of hearing about AI. And then he says, yes, it'll be quick. I promise. Fine.
Oh, I loved this one. Okay. This is where I got my very first hot take. And I was like, I think I texted you right after this and said, okay, let's do a podcast because this one was good.
Okay. So you go.
Okay. I want to start. This is Matthew's words. I want to start with a simple observation. When I consume art, it evokes a feeling. Good, bad, neutral, whatever. When I consume AI art, it also evokes a feeling. Good, bad, neutral, whatever. Until I find out that it's AI art. Then I feel deflated, grossed out, and maybe a little bored. This feeling isn't a choice. I'm not deciding to hate it. I'm not like, oh, here's something really good, but I'm choosing to hate it because it's a threat to my livelihood. I'm a cartoonist and I make my living from art. But I've sat with this feeling and that's really not it. Even if you don't work within the arts, you have to admit you feel it too, that disappointment when you find out something is AI generated. Okay, we want to hot take this?
Yeah. Yes, because this is I resonated with this. If I'm
I
being
did
completely
too.
honest, I felt that because it's like, oh, unless it's obviously AI art, you know, it's like, oh, this is so I'm a book nerd and a lot of characters aren't real. So in the book
Yeah.
community, there's a lot of AI art that surrounds like this is what a character could look like. And so we all know it's AI and that's not a disappointment. But if it is like art and then it's almost like you feel duped a little bit. You're like, oh, that's AI. I feel that way with deep fake videos. I'm like, I've like fired off videos where I'm like, this is hilarious. And then somebody's like, oh, that's AI. I do it a lot less than I used to, but I'm like, damn, I didn't know that I was going to have like, you know, no discernment when it came to what's real and what's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Case in point, worldwide politics right now where
That
there
is
is no
a
discernment.
problem. Yes.
It is a problem. It is a problem because people see something, an immediate emotional reaction, and they don't do the due diligence to see whether it's real or not. And
Yep.
since Sora 2 came out, which was, just a couple weeks ago, and I loved playing with it. It's so fun. I just still think it's so fun. Since it came out, my belief in almost everything I see on social media is gone. The belief that it is true is gone. Any boat crash, any parkour, fall on down the building, or anything. It's like any cute little dog, all that stuff. Like it's like the boy who cried wolf happened to me with Sora 2. Like now I think it's all wolf. None of it's true.
Yeah.
So what?
As somebody who follows you on Instagram, when you were posting your Sora videos, I was like, what is he doing? And then I realized, oh, this isn't real.
Yeah.
But at first, it looked really real. And I think right now,
exactly when I climbed down in the cave hole.
You know? Yeah. And I was like, what is he doing in the cave hole? This is stressing me out. But I think there is still, to some degree, a little bit, if you really look, you can tell that it's especially video. Well, images for sure. I feel like you can tell they're AI generated, but video is getting so good that you really have to do a double take. And it's
I don't know
scary.
if you can tell. I mean, there's so much that you can't tell. You can't tell on some of this stuff. That was the Sora 2 problem for me. And then before that, Nano Banana came out, and that was another step up too. Imagine Sora 7, where we're gonna be on this. It's just scary, the realisticness.
Yes.
Okay, so getting back to what Matthew Inman is saying here, he had his emotional response, found out it was AI, and then got mad about it, or deflated, or angry, disappointed when he found out it was AI generated. It really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. I feel it when I get duped. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there was one that I sent to my son. He's 24. And I was like, Mason, check this out. And he was like, dude, that's AI. And I was like, gosh, dang it. So I felt the duping of it. And it is disappointing. It is disappointing. How did you feel, Jenna? This is kind of similar. How did you feel when you learned that we didn't really land on the moon? And that was all.
AI was ahead of its time back then.
Yeah. I'm just kidding about the moon thing, so don't hate in the comments, but I do like to make conspiracy theory jokes.
We're going to talk about another conspiracy.
I'm 50-50 on the moon.
I know.
On the moon landing. I haven't put a line in
the
sand
nowadays,
on that
can
yet.
you imagine if that happened now? To your point, who knows if we will ever really go back, because we can do it with AI.
Yeah. And when we land on Mars, are we really landing on Mars?
We really
or
there?
Is it really?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is Mars even real? Is there anything beyond? This is where we can go.
This is where we're getting
beyond
really
the
existential.
dome that is Yeah. Anything beyond the dome that is over the earth, the flat earth that we are on. I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll find out.
we will
Yeah.
find out.
Okay. All right, let's go back. So I like this next section too, because he starts to liken this to a place that I went when AI came out. I was like, hey, wait, how is this different? How is remove background on Photoshop different than just what has existed already? So do you want to take this section?
Yeah. Also, so he will bleep out the F bombs because there are many of them. I think this is a non-explicit podcast. So when I saw, so this is what he's saying. When I saw the original Jurassic Park in theaters, I was blown away by the dinosaurs. They were CG, but I didn't look at the Bronchiosaurus and think, gross, that's just a bunch of tracking dots attached to a boom crane. And then there's a theater graphic of like, hey, what the bleep? These dinosaurs aren't real. And somebody infuriated in the audience. It was novel to see CG effects back then. That was definitely part of it. But I also remember thinking, how did somebody make this? It was rendered by a computer, sure, but the artists and engineers made their but it was artists and engineers that made the creative choices that built the dinosaur. It was an expression of human beings making human decisions. It was a product of discipline, talent, and imagination. Seeing AI art, I don't feel that way at all. It feels hopeless, like there's no point in making anything because your average 12-year-old can do it in seconds.
Okay, let's hot take this for a second.
Yeah.
And I struggle with this one a little bit because even going back to, I don't know if you remember, there was an app called Bryce 3D back in the day where you could create these 3D modeled
Yeah.
worlds.
Yes, I remember Bryce 3D. Yes.
Yeah, Bryce 3D. This is like late 90s, early 2000s that this Bryce 3D, I'm pulling it up on my screen right now, of what these worlds would look like. And you kind of would just, yeah, you remember this? And it was so cool. And it was not, I did not decide on the height of the mountains and of all the colors and how the shading worked and everything. It was just filled with a couple of, they weren't prompts per se, but it was an easy thing to render these really cool, out of this world landscapes. Now, why didn't anybody rip that back in the day? How is that different than AI right now?
I think, well, I never used Bryce or any of these modeling apps, design apps, but I think it could possibly be that what the input is maybe a little different. Did you use Bryce? Like, do you know how it worked? Because like with AI art, from what I understand, and this is also me I don't do AI art personally, but it's by prompt. It's you are writing what you want this to look like. And so the prompt is what creates, and then the machine does it all. Whereas I think with like Bryce, you're still moving the mouse and you're still beep, beep, boop, bop. You're still making all of the decisions and the clicker is clicking, right? So I think that might be the difference. And it's kind of what he's saying here. We didn't think that way with the CG dinosaurs because somebody's brain, they're probably storyboarding. There's still some manual human brain creativity thought process that's going behind creating these dinosaurs or these worlds in Bryce. But what I would argue, and in this, and the reason why I had feelings about this is, sure, any 12-year-old can just, input a bunch of garbage into a thing and get, spit out. And I want to talk about AI slop later, and produce AI slop, what I call it. But I think that in order to produce good AI art, it's just like anything, garbage in, garbage out. The input has to be good. You have to have a creative mind. So the human creating it still needs to be creative, I think. Right? Do you agree?
I think it's from that perspective, I think the more creative you are, the better you can get things out of the AI tool. And I'm a creative by trade for my whole career.
Yeah.
And so I'll arrogantly say I'm above average in creativity. And I do think that my Sora videos that I was posting a few weeks ago were more fun than the average person's Sora videos,
They
because
were reflecting
I could
the group.
prompt it in a way that, and I knew I had a message, a story, and a punchline, like the one where I was squatting and then I fell down through the building and landed in the room with the 80s or the 80s like aerobics class or something. Like that kind of thing for me was I prompted that to do that and tell that little story. The average non-creative person would just say, "Oh, you make me squatting and then fall through the building." That's the limit of their ability to prompt, or because it doesn't come in as
Yep.
I don't know, creatively,
Yeah.
perhaps.
You're painting a more
I think
vivid
there's something
picture.
in this. Yeah. And it's the same as just you start with a blank canvas, which
Right.
if we talk about this in prompting, AI is a giant blank canvas. And the prompt is you understanding how to use the brushes and the colors and all the things to make it do what you want it to do.
Agree.
Yeah. So
The prompt is important.
But the prompt is important for now. But I've gotten some really creative things just saying, make the most crazy video you can think of and just let it run. And so I've played with some of that stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
there's a flip side to this.
do you feel like it has a
on what
plot
he's
still,
saying.
though?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like when you do that,
No,
that it still has a
not
plot?
now. No, most of the time, no.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the time, no. But I mean, we're on Sora 2. What happens
Sure.
with Sora 7?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so where it's going.
Yes.
Okay, the flip side or the benefit to this that we're talking about here, where he says this statement, any 12-year-old, wherever that was, maybe it was on the screen.
Yeah, right there.
It feels hopeless, like there's no point in making anything because your average 12-year-old can do it in seconds. But the flip side or the benefit to that is an explosion of creativity because there's no barrier to entry anymore. So any 12-year-old can now be producing whatever creative idea comes into their brain. And to the person who did not grow up in an advantaged state where they could go to art school and design school and things and learn all the principles, and they want to create children's books, and now they have this ability to go and create the art and proofread their story and create in a no barrier environment. And I know that that's frustrating to people who are trained artists, but to the people who are not and cannot afford the privilege of being a trained artist, it's an explosion of creativity. And I think that there's something really interesting and exciting about that perspective.
Yeah. It's
What are your thoughts on that, Jenna Jean Bean?
Yeah. Democratizing art is, I agree. I think that's also when you say that people get angry, and I think he goes into this later on in the comic about, skill versus talent and all of that. But I think that there is a certain level of not like existential, but like defensiveness that artists come through, and they, it's almost like and he actually goes into this later in the comic about the struggle of art, the struggle of creativity, and how that's kind of being eliminated, and how a lot of times the struggle is what makes the art. But I think that it's like anything else. The digital camera. Remember, everyone had photographers panicked because no longer did you have to understand how to use film or to properly expose. You could just do it in the blink of an eye with a digital camera. And then, oh, guess what? Now
Yeah.
everybody has a camera in their pocket. But there's still a
Yeah.
need for photographers and people who have that skill set. So I think it's just I think there's some defensive-ness that I sense with this part of it. And I think that,
and justifiably, when he's from his perspective, justifiably defensive for
100%.
sure. So take the example of the phone in your pocket, which is more powerful than the DSLR camera I bought 20 years ago, and the filters that you can put on things, and the easy depth of field, all from one little 3-lens little thing. We went in Morepalooza in London. I didn't take one photo from the good camera that I brought. I brought it all the way there, and I never took it off of the countertop in my room. I just shot with my phone and my little action cams that I brought. The DJI Pocket Osmo 3, which is freaking awesome camera. But anyway, I didn't have to do any of the stuff. And then take that, for example, and it's doing auto white balance, and it's framing it up good, and it's matching my focal point of my face and all of that stuff. And all of that is artificial intelligence that is doing that to make me be able to do something that used to take a camera operator to be able to do, to follow someone around and take shots like what you can get from your own phone right now.
yeah.
That's the world we're in. And now, how many photographers are out of work because you can shoot your own photos in London? Any? Did anybody lose work from that? Would you have hired a photographer to follow you around and get some of the shots that you took?
No. No,
So
I wouldn't.
is anybody losing work in the photography world? Is anybody losing work, or are we just getting more photos? And the statistics would say we're just getting a whole lot more photos than we used to.
Walgreens and Osco Drug are the losers here, because the disposable cameras and the film,
I agree. Kodak
lost a long time ago. The film developing is what really kind of got lost in this, right? Because we were always doing this. We always had cameras with us to take pictures. It was just a matter of, is it instant or is it we have to wait for it, right? So, but the professional industry, I think, still has a place. You know, we do brand and websites. We don't typically say, just have someone take a picture of you with their iPhone. We have a brand. We have somebody who does this for a living and knows how to frame shots and all of that. So I think, yes, disarm. But the next thing he says here is, I've heard people say that using AI image generators is a technical skill. It's not. It's about as hard as using Google. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're saying in terms of, you know, sure, it's about as hard as using Google, maybe, and it's as accessible as using Google. But I think that, in my opinion, after using tools like this, you do have to have a level of skill if you want decent output right now in October of 2025.
Yeah. Date stamp this. It's actually October 24th, because next week something new will come out that will be better than the AI that came out last week. The
breakneck speed at which this changes, I think, is one of the most unsettling pieces of AI.
Yeah, like using Sora 2 as an example, guaranteed something in the next 2 weeks. I think it's already VO3 or something. I saw something getting announced on how it's already so much better than Sora 2. So that feels like it's like on a weekly basis. The thing comes out, it's super hot. The next thing comes out, and the other one is antiquated. It kind of reminds me of the early 90s era of computing, when you did feel the pressure to upgrade your machine every single year, because it was so much different and better than the year before. Phones, same thing. I mean, Apple's still trying to sell their iPhone 17 on the premise that it is the fastest chip ever and the best camera ever. And that's the same story we hear every year for
Yes.
a decade from them. That's the only announcement on the iPhone. That's the announcement that changed. But we're in the early days of AI where it is so fastly quick changing every single week. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
This
let's get
next
down
part-
on some more of this. And when I watch,
Yeah.
this is Matthew Inman, when I watch AI videos, I get the sense that the people making these things are unable to come up with anything genuinely clever beyond the feat itself. They aren't commenting on anything but themselves. Maybe they can't. Someone once told me that art is like emotional nutrition. That made sense to me. Art feeds my feelings. And if that's the case, consuming AI art is like eating styrofoam. It's a farce. It wasn't made with all the pain and joy that goes into actual creation. As a kid, I had one of those little Casio keyboards where you could hit a play button and it automatically played a song. I remember hitting the button. I remember standing there pretending to make music. That's how I see AI art, standing there pretending. Okay. Do you have a hot take on this? Because I got one that popped in my head. Well,
Go ahead. I
Okay.
want to hear yours.
My hot take is, I don't know the statistic, but I have a strong suspicion that art museums are still getting the same amount of traffic that they were getting pre-AI. That people are going to see the world-class, high-level art and appreciate the creativity of humanity in the same volume they were before AI art. That doesn't mean that we can't enjoy AI art for what it is, because some of it is fun, some of it is funny, some of it is a photo that nobody could have created on their own because they lack the skill set, and now they can creatively output something. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go and appreciate the human art that still exists. And it doesn't mean that there's not a place for the human art. So I think it's the Casio play button. Yeah, we could push that button, but everybody still listens to music that is created by humans right now. Anyway, that's my quick
You know what that reminds me of?
thought.
Did you ever watch Friends? The show
Of
Friends.
course. I mean,
You know when Ross is
yes. Did I ever watch Friends?
doing
What
the
kind of a question
keyboard.
is that?
That's what this reminded me of.
yes,
It's like,
Ross.
yeah, we're gonna sit there
Yes,
and
Ross.
listen to Ross's weird keyboard creations. I agree with
Yeah.
you. Here's where I struggle. I think that, taking what you just said a step further, and I want to just kind of give you my own philosophy on life, which is I don't really like dualistic thinking, black and white thinking. I don't like this is either this or it's either that or it's this. I think there is and both in a lot of things. And I think if people just had this kind of outlook on, you could apply this to a lot of areas of life. It doesn't matter what it is. But right now for AI art, you're not wrong. Like AI art is AI art. That doesn't mean that I don't. We went to the Frameless Museum and it was so cool to see all of that original art recreated, and it was digital, but it was still, I don't know. I just feel like the original art and like artistic expression, whatever that medium is, you wouldn't be like, oh, we were creating art in caves with rocks. So you're coming along with, what are these pastels? What is this paint? What is this pigment? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're coming in with another tool in a toolbox, and you can choose to either use the computer and prompts to create something from nothing, or you can reach into your toolbox and grab paint or watercolors or pastels, or if you really want to go into a cave and grab your rocks, you can still do that. Like, I don't understand why. I understand the frustration, but I also feel like none of the other stuff is going away. And I think the fear is that it will. That's what I feel like is implied here, that the artists who are doing art the old way, I'm using air quotes,
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
they're going to get crowded out or pushed out for this new medium, which is AI art.
Yeah. I think that's a tone that I feel in between the lines, but and even in some of the way that he articulates things here. I think his argument to your point was the pastel is still a human pushing the pastel around. The paint is still a human pushing the paint around. AI is a computer coming up with the idea, pushing the pixels around and rendering it, and it did not take any human creative spark to make that happen. And that's the thing. But while you were talking, I was like, you know what? It's a whole different category. Like the battle here emotionally for people, like this article with Matthew, which, by the way, I don't want any of this to come across as bashing. I totally get this, and I support his position 1,000,000,000%. I totally get it. But it's founded on the premise that art and AI art are in the same category. And I think the world that we're coming into now is that AI art is something not art. We call it art, but AI art is not going to be hanging in the same museum next to A Starry Night, Van Gogh's famous painting. It's just not going to be there next to it as if it merits the same attention. And the same thing with like his work. I mean, his work is so good and so creative and so fun, and the games and all of it is just so great. And it's not going to be, there's not an AI competition that's going to crowd that out, because it does have that spark of humanity in it that he brings.
Agree. I agree with that. We still listen to vinyl records, even though we have MP3s.
Yeah.
I have a whole
more now,
collection of vinyl
even.
records over here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vinyls had a resurgence because people want that retro. But who cares what? That's the distribution medium, not the creation of the music itself. Now you get tricky when you have people like, I saw a music artist who wrote an article and said, I was stuck on a verse that I couldn't solve until this past summer, and they used AI and it got them past the stuck spot in writing some verse to their song that had been stagnant for 5 years or something. And does that mean that song is not valid because AI solved something that she couldn't?
Yeah. If we keep scrolling, he's going to get there in this comic. I think that's the next.
Let's go.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay,
Keep going.
Let's scroll. All right. You want to?
Yeah. So this is the illustration. It is like a bunch of people with their computers standing behind the artist, and the people are like, "This cartoonist is just bitter. He's mad because now we can do what he can do." You do sound mad, bruh. Are you? And Matt says, am I mad or bitter? Maybe. But stay with me, because I'm going to land this plane in a smarter place than just the Oatmeal hates AI art. But first, here's a fun observation. You're not going to like this one, but it's an antidote, so chill out. Here we go. In my experience, the people who are excited about AI art also happen to be some of the most talentless effing people I've ever met. They're middle managers, executives, or marketers whose LinkedIn bio reads, I'm the chief brand officer of user engagement at Data Rectal. But what I really am is a storyteller. LMAO. Virginia Woolf was a storyteller. Shel Silverstein was a storyteller. You work in tech. Can I swear? Mike, can I swear on this podcast? Swear. Okay. You work in tech.
I don't label them as explicit, but everything's explicit now. This is 2025.
I didn't want to just blast, some people might be listening to this with their kiddos in the car. Earmuffs. Earmuffs for the rest of this, because the Oatmeal is explicit. I want to going back, I want to hone in on the word talented for a second, because I said talentless earlier, and I'm sure many people are thinking, but I'm not talented at art, and they see it as an excuse. When you observe talent in others, what you're most likely seeing is skill. I don't consider myself a talented artist. I've just drawn a lot of things and taken a bunch of art classes. People who don't draw always say the same refrain. I'm a bad artist. I could only draw stick figures. That's because you haven't practiced. Drawing takes practice. That's what we call drawing a study. If you've never spoken Portuguese once in your life, you wouldn't say, I'm not gifted at Portuguese. You'd say, I've never studied Portuguese. Sure, some people are more naturally gifted than others, but most of us just did the work. AI enables your average chief brand ambassador, or whatever the fuck their job title is, to bypass that training and churn out really pretty clip art. Enjoy making clip art, loser. Sorry, I meant storyteller. Enjoy making clip art, storyteller. LMAO. Should I keep going?
This is the part where he does come across pretty mad.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I think it's intentional. Pretty sure it's intentional. I'll take issue with the generalization that these are the least creative, least talented people he's ever met because they're the chief brand officer.
I feel like
two things or whatever.
Right. Two things are true. I do believe that there are people out there, and this kind of goes back to like, never think you're an imposter or you don't know what you're doing, because there's somebody out there with a whole lot of chutzpah and like self-inflated beliefs that they can do something when they have no idea what they're doing. Yes, that is the truth. There are people out there who are doing that. As somebody who would do brand strategy with clients and have to go manually input and take out of my brain and remember all of the things and know how AI is valuable. Now, this is different than AI art. I can see that it's just making me a smarter, better creative. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference there, and two things can be true at once. Again, going back to that, this isn't black and white situation.
Yeah. Yes.
It was funny. The way he wrote it was hilarious, I will say.
It was one of the most bold, spite-filled statements I've heard from creatives who hate AI generated art. Oh, I do want to make that delineation too, Jenna. AI generated art, I believe, is different than AI. And a lot of times I see people saying, okay, I hate AI, when in reality, what they hate is AI image generation or AI video generation, because AI in general is enhancing my life in 1 million ways. And I know that will just continue to get even more entrenched. You sent me the whatever your little medallion thing. I don't remember what it's called, but I bought it and I haven't opened it yet. But the little
Limitless.
To you. Yeah, Limitless. The wearable AI device that listens to your meetings and takes notes, and then I assume puts them into the app, and then you get your transcripts from all the things you did, plus probably digestion of key bullet points and takeaways and action items and all that stuff. That's not taking away the job of anyone. That's just making you more powerful because you have this tool attached to you, an AI tool. And I think we do need to make that delineation. I think it would be better if creatives said that. Because hating AI is like, yeah, okay, you can go live in certain communities where they are just still gardening and plowing the field with horses. That exists. And that if you hate AI, that is an option. But AI generated art, that's the thing that I get that people hate. And the same thing with like music, AI generated music and things. Anyway, that's just a little thought on the delineation between those things, because I do love AI. I mean, freaking, I get so much more done in my day. Yeah, Whisper Flow. I did a thing on Whisper Flow.
I need to check that out still. You told me about Whisper Flow, and I'm like, oh man.
Yes, you need to check it out. Whisper Flow, life-changing. I do not type anymore. I talk into my computer and it processes what I say and fixes my typos and corrects things. It's unbelievable. So yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, whispered flow. Okay. Yep. All right, going back down to Matthew Inman article. Okay, now that I've insulated half of the internet, or insulted, now that I've insulted half of the internet, let's reel it in and talk about how AI art can be useful. I believe it can be a powerful tool for dealing with the minutia of drawing, the parts of it that feel administrative, not creative. Every artist has their own minutia. For me, it's backgrounds. Most of my comics don't have them, which is why I often draw pale blobs floating in space. He has a little illustration here of a flying rat. Do not fear, Ratcopter. Ratcopter is here to bring you juicy rat goodness. Eliminating backgrounds lets me focus on the part that matters to me, the comedy, the fun, the Ratcopter. I don't ever plan on using AI in my comics, but I see how it could let me focus on the creative, essential aspects of cartooning. It's like the artist equivalent of using a spell checker. But unfortunately, there's an entire industry of people who are passionate about creating what others might consider minutia. To them, that is art, and a lot of it is wonderful art. Some of the most beautiful art from my Netflix series came from background artists, and those jobs are being destroyed, and there's no stopping it, and that F-bombing sucks. In the early 90s,
hey, that's not fair.
Adobe
I said
introduced...
the F-bomb.
I know, okay. I'll say it next time it comes up on my turn. In the early 90s, Adobe introduced the magic wand tool. It allowed us to select areas of a similar color with a single click. This sped up workflows because we no longer had to spend hours scrubbing pixels to remove unwanted areas. Instead, a machine did the work. So you could argue that art created with the magic wand should be chucked into the same soulless bucket as art generated by AI. To me, manually scrubbing a background feels like administrative work. If I were painting the Sistine Chapel, that would be the equivalent of carrying buckets of paint up a staircase every morning to start my job. Why couldn't it have been the Sistine floor? There's a little comic in there. But that's the thing. Even with the magic wand tool, Photoshop artists are still doing the part that matters. They're drawing the subject of the composition and probably the background too. Okay, I'm going to give you a hot take thought on this. This is based on his definition of what part is the most important. And the writer would say, no, the art that you create, Matthew Inman, is not the important part. It is the invention or the idea of Ratcopter, of me, what's in my brain, the words, the story, the humorous little joke. That's the part. And what you do, Matthew, is the minutia, man. You're just doing the art part. That's the minutia. But the story part is what's valuable. And so his example between the background art and the foreground art, he's saying that the background art is getting destroyed and the foreground art is still so important to be human-centered. The writer could say the writing is the most important part, and who cares if the foreground and background art are getting generated by humans? It doesn't matter because the writing is what needs to be human created. That's the a line in the sand that he's taking that I think you could extrapolate out and say, okay, well, there's another problem to this that isn't being considered in here.
Yeah, I think as artists,
what are your thoughts on that,
we all want our version of what would be considered the easy button. You know, there's certain things that I'm doing that I'm like, I wish that there was a tool that could just make this go faster because this isn't the part that I enjoy. So that's part of art, right? Like we do this for reasons, and it's because there's equal parts, maybe frustration. The creative process is rewarding in the sense that, you know, you have like this, you know, concept to completion and the journey thereof, but somewhere along that journey, there is something that feels like minutia. So for him, the backgrounds are minutia. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like this part, you know, for me, it's taking all of my notes and rehashing it and editing it and distilling it down where I'm like, I already have the answers here. This is just time consuming. Why, I need an easy button for this. So I feel like we all have those things that we wish we could kind of scrub out of the process. And I think, to some degree, it's the knowing part. Maybe part of it is that I knew how to do that, but now I don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we knew back in the day before Adobe came along how to cut out letters on construction paper and put them, assemble a magazine cover on a light box table, but now we don't have to, right? It's like the chip that you have on your shoulder about the machines coming in and making, back in my day, I had to walk 5 miles in the snow. I think part of that is a little bit of, I got a chip on my shoulder because we have an easy button now for things too. So I don't know. That's just kind of my amalgamation of brain thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would just argue that the AI generated haters hate the fact that the easy button is the whole thing in that perception. It isn't just the cutting out the letter, it's making the whole design click. That I think
this right
is
here
is the problem with AI.
Yeah, and this too, here's the deal though. This is all an evolution, and so we're kind of picking on certain parts of the process here. But if I'm looking at this illustration we have right in front of us, which is this illustration of a guy holding a paintbrush looking at a strawberry painting, and the painting itself looks like it was painted like watercolor or something. But you know what? He didn't, I don't think, paint that with watercolors, scan it into the computer, and then make it into a digital rendering. He probably did that with Procreate, which is a digital tool that takes what was watercolor painting and makes it look like watercolors, but only you did it with a Apple Pencil instead of a brush. And so it's kind of convoluted, and there's so much here that you're like, wait a minute. And honestly, this isn't just me coming in here and being like, you're all wrong. I've had to contend with these thoughts too, like this shift in my own thinking, because I've picked on the same things he's picking on. And like I said, like we've both said, we don't disagree with him. And I think I'm grateful that he put this out there because it makes me question my own beliefs around this.
Same. Yep. And hopefully all the people who have written hateful comments in this episode will have gotten to this part where you can realize, yes, let this question your own thinking and your own beliefs. That's why we're doing this episode. And I don't disagree with anything that he said here, even though I'm trying to create some other angles to look at some of the things that he said. It doesn't mean that I disagree. Now, going back to my thing that I was saying, you have the strawberry art on here. I think his argument would be, yeah, but you're still moving the Procreate. Yeah. You're still moving the Apple Pencil. But this says on here, but that's the thing, even with Magic Wand Tool, Photoshop, artists are still doing the part that matters. They're drawing the subject of the composition and probably the background too. They're making choices. My choices, this is the cartoon, my choices have led to a strawberry, which is Beary. So spelling it strawberry and then making it a strawberry that looks like a bear is the joke. And he says that that's the important part. That's the part that matters. Now, again, going back to what I was saying before, is that the part that matters, or is the idea of a strawberry ideated in somebody's head spelled Beary instead of Berry? Is that the part that matters? And the human creativity is still there. I thought of this idea. What if we make a strawberry in the shape of a bear and we spell it differently? Haha, that's my joke. It's funny, but I cannot produce that because I do not have the artistic talent. Therefore, I use AI generated art to produce something for me, because that's not the important part. The visual, that's not the important part. The joke of the word is the important part of the story.
I see what you're saying. So you're emphasizing the creativity that led to the output, and he's criticizing the output. Like, well, I made this by hand.
And I'm not saying that he's wrong. I totally get it.
No, I agree with you.
I'm just saying, that where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line on what's being replaced and what part is important? What part matters on this?
I agree. I think that I love this because it makes my brain have to think. You know what I mean? I have to like, too. I can't just like, most of the time we're just scrolling and reacting. And I did read this and react quite a bit the first time I read through it. But now it's like, oh yeah, this is thought provoking. Gives me brain tingles.
It really is. And I love talking about it. That's why. What did you send me this morning? She said, you sent me an AI thing, and she made this quote, this chick, and it was like, she said, "Our brains in a jar." And I love the way that she said it.
Well, that's actually a really good point, and something that I'm looking right now what she said. It's your brain can sit in a jar. She's not. So that's the other thing too. I think that warrants valid criticism on AI art. Or AI anything, right? We're talking specifically about art, but that can go for, you were just kind of talking about how, we can kind of kick back and do the thing. AI is going to do the things for us. And that kind of evolves into the joke. Well, then we're all going to become the Wall-E people who just sit in front of our screens because we don't have to do anything anymore. Our brain is sitting in the jar, rotting. And there is a case to be made for like neuroplasticity and keeping your mind sharp. And AI coming in to do all of our thinking for us. So that warrants valid concern. It does. Making choices is good for your brain.
Yeah, and the concern is that there is a large contingent, this is my generalization, there's a large contingent of people that if you give them a lazy world, they will fully embrace the lazy world. And
this also,
the drive ambition isn't there.
Yes. This also goes into the ChatGPT haha funny reel that I sent you the other day, where the guy is like walking into a hardware store and he's like, he's talking to his ChatGPT on his phone. Oh, hey, he just said hi to me. What do I say back? And ChatGPT tells him what to say. And then the guy behind the counter says, the guy just said this to me. What do I say back? And so it's kind of like in jest, but we kind of outsource.
Where does it end? Where does it end where our brain is in a jar?
Right.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see where we land on this. Do you want to you can take this part?
Yeah. So that's where AI can be useful. It enables artists to focus on the part that matters to them, the core of their composition. But you could also argue that the administrative, boring aspect of art matters too. And by jumping to the fun part, you're denying yourself of the process. And the process should matter, not just the part where you hold up your painting and say, hey, internet, look what I made. And then he made a picture of a butt rat, which is just a rat with a really big butt. And it says, because your toil, this is the part that I was kind of referring to earlier, but this is what he says, your toil is what makes your art beautiful. And then it's a comic of him getting likes on his butt rat that says, oh, hell yeah, butt rat is a hit. I mentioned the Sistine Chapel earlier. Michelangelo suffered horribly while painting it. He craned his neck upwards, his body twisted, paint dripped in his eyes. The misery went on for years. So, does knowing that Michelangelo suffered for his art make the art better? I suppose that depends on the viewer and their experience. For me, it matters. It's not required, but it matters. And then this part was really interesting. So he says, I first saw Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth at MoMA in New York when I was young, and I was deeply affected by it. This painting depicts a polio-stricken girl dragging herself across a large field of grass. The man who raised me had post-polio syndrome, a degenerative illness caused by polio that racked his muscles with pain. This was while we were living in an expansive rural property in northern Idaho. Furthermore, Wyeth took the time to paint individual blades of grass as he wanted to torture himself with the paint, the same way that girl suffered as she moved her twisted body across an endless horizon. This was my experience with Wyeth's painting, and in this case, the suffering made the difference. The pain mattered. However, I don't think that artists or writers need to suffer in order to be authentic. I'm not someone who believes that alcoholic Bukowskis or suicidal wolves are necessary. Their stories are just an added layer of richness, and that in that regard, AI is bankrupt.
Okay, got any thoughts on this?
I mean, this is the part where I think I can't really I have no argument against this, because as a creative, knowing that the creative process is painful, there's that joke, that timeline of the creative process, which is like idea, panic, procrastinate, ulcerate, do the work, yay, it's done. Like that really is part of the rewarding nature of being creative. And you really it really is absent when you're creating something that's instant on a computer.
Yeah. I do think, though, I think that this is, so I have a minor in art history, like so many designers do, because they went to design school, and you might as well take one more class to have a minor in art history, which is pretty much what it was for me. So I studied all of the art, and it does make a difference when you understand the story behind it. And that's the real joy of going to an art museum. If you go with some knowledge of the era that the person created the art, and what the other social things going on, and how it was influenced, and then what the artist's inner turmoil was. Like, you learn about Van Gogh and Picasso and things, and you understand some of their plight. It makes it so much more interesting and better. Now, this story with the Wyeth landscape with the polio girl right here, this is not butt rat. And that's the thing that
It's true.
Needs to be considered here, is that where is it, is how much inner turmoil is there? And I know that people use humor, and they use their own past and things, and they bring that into comedy. And I love that about comedy. I mean, I could sit and listen to Dave Chappelle all day long. I think he's the greatest storyteller of modern era, because he's so good, and I love it. He's just captivating, and there is so much of himself that he brings into that makes it so authentic and interesting. And is he butt rat? Like, is that, where do we draw the line between what is a Wyeth landscape of a girl with polio who has to try and get back to the farmhouse versus butt rat?
I agree. I think that's all context, right? Like the context behind some of these things, and the story is kind of what makes it better. And I will also draw a parallel to those of us who do like brand identity work, which is like, there are people out there who can just create a logo, and it can be like, well, it's a star. Stars are cool. And we could be like, well, we want to tell the story of the brand through the logo mark. That is, I think, the difference between something that's like just kind of a little bit more superficial or funny, or it has its purpose for this one thing, and then there's another level too of like telling a story within a thing. And so I think that it's not either or. Again, it's both. These things, it's all context. You can't just throw out one thing because you think it has less value. It has its value within the context of which it was created and what it was created for.
Yeah. And it is, they can coexist. And I think that that's the world that we're going to have to come to a reality of. There are a whole lot of clients that if they came and consulted with me and said, hey, Blush Cactus, that's Jenna's agency, they gave us a bid, and it's $20,000 for a rebrand, and it has brand strategy and all this stuff. And I'm a coin operated laundromat in Podunk, South Dakota, I would say to that person as a consultant, do not sign that. You will never get your money's worth out of that $20,000 rebrand. Go hire somebody on Fiverr or just choose a Canva clip art logo because that's all your business needs. Now, that can coexist with a Cracker Barrel redesign, which flopped, but a Cracker Barrel redesign that spent millions of dollars on their redesign. Those things can still coexist. And I think that the delineation between even the clip art version and an AI logo, all of these things can still coexist, that there is a place for the AI option for certain clients that want to pay. There is a place for AI video that in social media that is funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for it. It should not be heralded the same as Schindler's List. That's the delineation. And Butt Rat, created by Matthew Inman, should not be heralded the same as Van Gogh's A Starry Night. But AI art created by Sora 2 should not be heralded the same as Butt Rat and Exploding Kittens. So I think that we have multiple categories that all have validity. There's just an opposition to this new category of AI art. And I can think of, go back to take Da Vinci. Like Leonardo da Vinci and his super methodical scientific way of creating art. He could look at a Picasso and say, what is that? Get that? That has no business being in the same building as what I'm creating here. He could easily say that. I
took art history class. I saw some of these things and I was like, I
can
do that. I can do that.
Yes,
why is that
real,
so special and important?
And I still feel that way about a lot of
yeah.
I do. Yeah. I do feel that way. So where do we draw those lines? And I think the reality is that they all coexist in their own sphere. And I think that that's the way it is with AI. And let's just not call it AI art. Like, get rid of the word art and call it AI generated content. Let's call it that. And get rid of the word art, and some of the anger can just go away as a result of that. It should not be compared to Matthew Inman's work, the same way that Matthew's work should not be compared to Leonardo da Vinci's work. It's not a fair comparison. Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
Okay.
All right. So
I love it when you say I agree, because then I feel like I'm making my point.
And maybe even our audience is like, "What? Can you get to the point soon? This comic is long and my dopamine is fading." I know. Thank you for reading this far. You've got about 30 seconds left until I open TikTok for a quick hit. I'm almost done, I promise. A friend recently posed this question to me. With the invention of AI, are we cyborgs now? And this comic, I loved this. The guy is wearing a cyborg hat, or like a machine hat, and it says Hat GPT. It's a great question. AI has accelerated our abilities like that drug from the movie Limitless. It's writing our papers, analyzing our blood work, and planning our weddings. Now your average Keith has the critical thinking abilities of a supercomputer running at 10 trillion teraflops per floppy chart. It enables ordinary minds to have extraordinary abilities, and there's no stopping that. I don't have some clever call to action for you like, let's ban AI. That'd be like saying, let's ban technology. I use AI myself. I like using AI, although not AI art. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. Unfortunately, AI art seems to be headed toward the latter. Getting to the point, this isn't a death sentence for artists. It's a tired grown into mediocrity. A Fortnite dance into a sea of Giphy-powered dog shit. I get all the swear words, Mike. This was once a cherished skill that is now a marketing influencer slopping up engagement metrics like a nude pig in a cheap hot dumpster. It is not a child at a Casio keyboard pretending. AI art is an interesting technology Despite its growing popularity, nobody seems to want it. Artists hate using it, consumers hate consuming it, and yet it thrives like the Arby's built inside of a protected forest. I know it's bleak, but artists remember this. Nobody worth giving a damn about this. Nobody worth giving a damn about wants this technology. No one with a modicum of taste, patience, or culture gives a shit about AI art. AI art might eventually have the right number of fingers, but it'll never have a heart. You are the creator. You build worlds based on your passion, your discipline, your pain. Worlds full of typos, mismatched lines, and wild tangents. Even though art itself, this fragile, precious thing of ours, is drowning in a sea of styrofoam, I need you to know from one artist to another that everything you make on a page, even a squiggly imperfect one, is still beautiful. The end.
Okay. So I think he brings it on home. You can definitely see the angst. I think one of my big takeaways on this whole thing is let's stop calling it art. I'm not going to anymore. There is no more phraseology in my glossary of terms called AI art. I don't think we should call it that. And then a lot of what is talked about here can go away because you're not going to make the AI generated content go away. That is not going to go away. And SAG is on strike, boycotting the AI stuff. Bryan Cranston said, don't use my likeness anymore. And so Sora and OpenAI had to go and change their policies on people. You see Martin Luther King doing the freaking moonwalk and stuff. And yes, is that appropriate? No, it's not appropriate to use a likeness of somebody, even historical figures, unless you have rights given to you by the people who were his descendants or whatever. Then yeah, maybe. But it's let's get rid of calling it AI art. It's not. It's something new. It's AI generated content, and it is going to exist. As much as we hate that fact, it is going to exist.
Yeah.
I will give you another hot take that I would say on this too, is that, and this isn't intermingled into his thoughts, the value of Matthew Inman's work goes up with every piece of AI generated slop that gets produced. Now, all of a sudden, the value goes up, 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 because what's coming in below is so, in his words, so modicum of taste, and it's so heartless. And so now that is heart and has story and is thoughtfully generated by a human, it is more valuable as a result. And so that's something to say. And I'm big on everybody embracing your humanity right now in the creative industry. You've got to just go all in on it is you. You are the one shepherding your client through the work and helping them land on the thing that's going to work best for them. And you will use AI tools in your journey to get them there. But that does not mean that it's not you. And you've got to get in front of these people and talk about it. If Matthew Inman, one little disappointment I have is where I want a photo of him. And you know what I would love also is a video of him on this screen of him verbally talking about some of these things. That would hit home to me so much more than just the written version too. And I do think that Matthew and every other creative out there working needs to start standing behind their humanity in what they're showing. The way that you would in design school, you have to put your work on the freaking gray wall in front of the class and talk about it. We got to start talking about our work again and standing behind it as a human.
I agree. I think the other thing too is, one of my takeaways is we're almost stigmatizing AI to a degree where it makes it so that we won't be able to embrace the tools and use them not use them, but use them openly. So for example, I know that
Yeah.
there are a lot of copywriters who have a huge hang up about using AI to help generate copy for, websites or not, whatever they're using. And, I know for us, it's like, somebody was asking, well, is this just AI? And it's like, well, we need to be able to embrace these tools as what they are and be able to say, yeah, we embrace these tools as a way to make our creative brains better, not as a way to make it go. Well, of course it goes faster. It makes it more efficient, and nobody should be punished for being more efficient. But I think it doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is going to suffer because you're using these tools if you're using them the right way. So I don't want people to feel like they have to hide the fact that they're using AI tools because it's stigmatized as like lazy or not as good as the real thing or whatever, because that's just not true. It's just not true.
Okay, I love that comment. And I'll take it to the next level that I get nervous even freaking talking about this topic and putting out a video like this because I know that it's so anger filled for so many people that are going to show up in the comments under the assumption that I'm sitting here making some pro AI content or whatever, or I'm anti what Matthew is saying here, which I'm not. I agree and I understand every single point he's making. My whole intention is to look at it from a couple different angles here, which I'm sure he's considered also. And I hate that with people in my content. I'll just throw this little side note in. I hate that when I think something and somebody says, yeah, but you didn't say this in my freaking, 30-second reel. I'm like, dude, it's a 30-second reel. And this is one page of what should be a 500-page diatribe on AI and Matthew's thoughts on AI. There's so much unsaid here. And I'm sure that he would probably agree with a lot of the angles and things that we're talking about. We could have a really interesting conversation about this. So I get nervous, going back to your point, I get nervous even talking about it as a topic because of the stigma that so many people are going to come. And I do think that that's a risk in creative work, that you feel like, oh, I can't use this now because everybody will hate me for it.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's devalued already out of the box because we say so. We say it doesn't have. There's a reason, by the way, why AI is set to die, or they're thinking it's going to diagnose cancer better than humans. So I think we also just need to say, nobody is. We have calculators, right? Just because you can't do math in your head doesn't mean that you're not smart. I just think it's there are times where I'm scrolling social media and I see AI, whatever, fill in the blank, and I'm like, this is a terrible use of AI. This is scary. I hate this. So I go through the I hate all this stuff, but then there's also like moments where it brings me joy. And I'm like, this is the best use of AI. This is what AI, and it's usually the funny, the satirical, the entertaining. And I think that, just because that's entertaining doesn't mean that I didn't go to to watch a comedian in person and pay good money to see this comedian in real life. Like, I still value those things. And we need to remember that just because you like one thing doesn't mean that we're throwing the rest of it out. It's still all here. And I would be really sad if that was the case. And I think that's the concern, is people are just worried we're going to live in this AI gross world. And I think we are the people who get to determine what that looks like. We get to decide.
Instagram. Yeah. And Instagram recently put in some controls over your own algorithm. I haven't played with that yet, but being able to go and say, I want to be able to see this and this. I think some of that will be valuable to people. Yeah. And you can control your own algorithm just based on what you're going to look at. And then it's going to track what you look at and give you more. So if you're consuming a whole lot of AI videos, get ready to see a whole lot more AI videos, because the algorithm wants to keep you there for your dopamine hit.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to talk about, you said the dead internet
The
theory,
dead internet
and I wanted to
theory.
talk. Well, we can't talk about it now because we're already too long. But let's
It's too
let's
long.
do another one soon because I want to talk about Tilly Norwood, the AI actress. So between now and then, Jenna, don't do any research on that because there's some stuff I want to talk about there
Okay.
for
We'll
natural
pick up
reaction,
a
and
part.
I will not research.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah. Yep. I won't
We'll pick up
research
what
the
we
dead
like.
internet theory
Don't do
at
it.
all. I'm going to ignore
And
that.
don't do it,
And,
listeners.
Yeah.
Audience.
Yes. No researching
cheating.
Tilly Norwood or the dead internet theory because we'll be back with another episode.
So good.
Okay. Jenna's been on before, so you can get her info there, but we'll put it into the show notes and everything too. Her agency's Blush Cactus, super good person and great agency. And thank you, Jenna, for sharing some thoughts. Hopefully we don't get, blackballed by everybody on the internet for talking about AI content, AI generated content.
Well, and the words of
it's
Taylor
not
Swift.
AI art.
You need to calm down.
You do need to calm down. Taylor Swift. Don't get me started on Taylor Swift conspiracies. I can go down the rabbit hole. Did I show you that in London? Did I show you the Taylor Swift?
We didn't go there. I'm a huge Swiftie, so
I will save that one. I'll save that one. All right.
Well, thanks for having me. This was
all
a
right,
great
everybody.
conversation.
It was super fun. Thank you for being on, and we'll be back. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Drop your comments in what you think about AI-generated content and some of your thoughts on our thoughts or Matthew's thoughts. Everybody has an opinion on this. Just try and keep it civil because I'm not a super pro AI art person, and neither is Jenna. I like looking at all of this from all the different angles, and I completely understand the people who are frustrated at this for their likeness being used, for the ease at which AI is outputting slop that is being compared to their heartfelt work. I hate that too. I totally get it. But we got to learn how to coexist in the world that's ahead. So.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jenna. We'll talk to,
Thank
and
you.
thanks everybody. We'll see you again on another episode soon.